What's up guys, my name's Liam, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the brand new WLMOUSE HUAN63. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is a new Magnesium keyboard. I believe probably one of the only Magnesium keyboards I've ever got my hands on. And in this video I'm going to be breaking down how my experience has been using this so far. I'm going to be comparing it to a lot of the competition out there, and hopefully by the end of this video I will be able to help you decide whether or not this could possibly be the perfect gaming keyboard for you. So let's check it out. Before we get started today, I did want to let you know this was sent out to me. However, everything you'll be hearing in this video is going to be my own words and my own opinions. Included inside the box, it does come with a USB-C to USB Type-A cable. This is a little bit of a stiffer feeling cable. Also does come with this cleaning brush, a switch and keycap puller. Then it does also have 4 additional switches. We'll get more into these here in just a second. Also does have this piece you can attach to the keyboard for some decoration. And then you also do have this carrying case. This does feel like it is made out of some type of a leather material. All right, so here we got the layout of the keyboard itself. And I will say that at first I wasn't really that much big of a fan of this layout. I did prefer just a standard 65 myself, and I still kind of do, but I have gotten used to the smaller shift key over here in the arrow keys, and it just really has kind of grown on me quite a bit. This does have a bit of a unique type of a look to it, as you can see here. It does have these removable panels, so I'll go ahead and break that down when I do open up this case, but you can remove the panel up here on the top, on the sides, and there is like these little holes all through the keyboard where RGB or backlighting is going to be a huge part of this keyboard. It does have dual LED zones. This is actually, I believe, the first keyboard, Hall effect keyboard I've got my hands on. So we'll go and break it down here. You got standard things. We do have the USB-C connectivity over here on the left-hand side. Here's a look down here at the bottom. Do you have your rubberized feet? Up in each one of the corners, this is another little piece that you can remove. But then coming up here in the front, like I had mentioned, these panels you can remove all around the sides. So the RGB does bleed through the sides here and does have a pretty cool appearance to it just all around in general. And the edges on this, everything feels nice and soft. So the entire time I've been resting my hands on here, everything has felt really great. As far as the different options go for this, they do have this black and gold colorway. They also do have a white colorway as well, and a pink version. The one thing I will say about it is, since it is made out of magnesium, a little bit of a lighter material, it does feel a little bit on the lighter end. We will go ahead and drop it here on my scale really quick, getting about 885.6 grams. I haven't really had too many issues with it moving around on me. If you were to get aggressive with it and start pushing on it, since it is a little bit of a lighter weight, it is a little bit easier to move around, however. But before we jump into the internal breakdown, the one thing I do want to say about this keyboard is this has been, in my opinion, one of the best sounding and best feeling 63 layout magnetic keyboards that I've got my hands on. You get a very soft typing experience. Definitely one of the first things I noticed when I did put this on my desk and start gaming on it is I'm somebody who does push very aggressively on my keyboard, and you definitely do notice a softer experience and a bit more of bending there. And I wouldn't say that it's too overwhelming to the point where you lose any sense of stability. Another thing that's been very impressive about this is the performance on it has just been fantastic. I haven't had any times where this is like glitched out on me or felt inconsistent. So really the stability that you do get out of this keyboard, the performance of it, and how soft it can all feel has been a really unique just experience that I've had with gaming on this. Here's a look of the transparent keycaps that do come included with this keyboard. These do feel nice. There's a little bit of a texture on the surface. They do still have a smoother overall feeling to the touch, so they do feel really nice while gaming on them. This texture does give you some additional grip so that these do not feel too slippery. The switches that do come included are these WLMOUSE and Gateron collab Starlight switches. So these switches, they do feel really good. They have a single rail design, and they do have an initial actuation force of 33 GF. One thing I want to make note to you guys really quickly here is that even though this keyboard is hot swappable, you can put other Gateron switches in here. These switches are unique to the fact that they do have an LED zone up here on the top and on the bottom portion. So with these switches, you are going to get the maximize RGB backlighting effect. And when it comes to the filling of these switches, first off, we'll look down here in the bottom of the PCB. As you can see, this does have an LED on both the bottom and on the top. But as far as these switches go, truly, I've been loving these switches. Not only do they feel fantastic, they have a really great sound to them. So they're really lightweight, nice and snappy and responsive. No matter where I press on them, they feel really good. And the one thing I do want to say about these switches is they feel really stable. So even if you're just resting your hands on top of these, you get like no movement while you're using them, so really solid there. When you do press the switch in, they still feel really stable. You do get just a very minor amount of stem wobble there, but I'd say the overall, the experience that you get on these switches with both typing and gaming does feel really solid. So to open up this keyboard, first off, as I explained to you earlier, all these pieces around the edges are removable. You will be able to replace these on the top sides. This is just what it looks like when you take this off. So this gasket right here doesn't have anything to do with the actual keyboard itself. But if you did want to open this keyboard up, it's actually pretty simple. Even though you do see all these additional screws in here, these screws right here are what is keeping the switch plate connected to the PCB itself. All you need to do is just remove 4 screws to open this up. I do have the corresponding keycaps right here. You'll need to remove the 2 and 3. The plus and minus key, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, the control and Windows key, and then the left arrow and the down arrow key to access these 4 screws that are right here. Once you do remove these screws, then you will be able to just simply pull this out. Do be careful because there is a ribbon cable that is attached to the bottom of this. I did disconnect it, but when you do lift this up, in between the switch plate and the PCB, you do have this pretty thick piece of foam right here. But then here is a close-up shot of what the bottom of the PCB itself does look like. So right underneath that, you do have an additional smaller piece of foam. I'll go ahead and remove this out of there like that. And then below that, you do have a piece of silicone as well. It's a typical type of piece of silicone where it is thicker at the top and does get thinner over at the bottom. Here's what the bottom of that looks like. And then here we have a look of what the bottom of this magnesium case does look like. All right, so let's go ahead and drop a really quick sound test. You can access the settings for this keyboard through this web-based driver. Once you do, you do have 2 separate tabs. You have these ones going on the left side here, and then these other tabs over here in the middle. This mechanical mode, this is where it allows you to set just the actuation point on the keyboard if you do wish to use it without any type of rapid trigger functions. So next up, we'll start at the top over here. We'll go over to the RGB settings. Since this keyboard does have a dual LED zone on both the top and the bottom, you can control these over here. If you wish to just use the top LED, you can do that here. And then same thing for the bottom, or you can put up here in the middle so that both the top and the bottom are on. The one thing I think that would be really cool if they added it to this keyboard, right now you can only control both the top and the bottom LED as the same color. I think it'd be kind of cool if you can customize this and make maybe the bottom LED zone and the top LED zone a different type of a color, like have the shade off a little bit. I think that could possibly add a pretty cool dynamic. However, it does not like to do that, but you do have tons of different options here to control the RGB settings. So next up, we're going to come over here to the remap tab. For the next tab over here, we have the advanced setting. Once you click on this tab, you'll need to click on any given key and it will give you access to all these different types of settings. So one thing that I've been testing out has been the SOCD, but really cool that it does give you a ton of different options here as far as the settings for this keyboard goes. I'll show you really quickly how to set up the SOCD here. Really simple to do going forward, and the SOCD is working out pretty good for me on this keyboard. Next up on the macro tab, simple things you can set up macros for this keyboard. And then finally over here we have an update. For whatever reason, this is glitching out for me right now. It's showing that I need an update. It's not allowing me to select and stay selected on this update. Once I do update the firmware, it's just been leaving it at the original firmware that I already have installed on this keyboard. So that is something I will have to reach out to WLMOUSE about. Not that it's a big deal or anything like that, because I have not had any issues with this firmware yet that I've come across. So that is definitely a plus. But next up, we'll come back over here to the performance tab. We're going to come down to the RT settings option. It does allow you to set your initial actuation point. And the crazy thing about this keyboard, you can go as low as a 0.001 millimeter increment for the sensitivity. So this keyboard can get as sensitive as you want. As a matter of fact, too sensitive in my opinion. And then you can individually control the press and the release on the rapid trigger settings. And as you can see over here on the top right hand side, or in the middle right, excuse me, it does have all the types of functions you want, where you can select all the keys, just do the WASD, do inverse on your keys. So this thing was very simple and a breeze to get set up. On the next tab over here, we have another advanced tab on the left hand side. This one is so you can set up the dead zone. I've just been using the stock 0.2mm dead zone. I'll probably play around with this a little bit more in the future. Next up, you have the switch type. One thing that's kind of unfortunate about this keyboard is there's a bunch of different switches in here, but I can't read any of this. Even though I do have English selected for the language, it's still showing me everything in Chinese. Oh, and by the way, I'll go ahead and show you that really quickly here. Up in the top right hand corner, when I did first set this up, this was all in Chinese. If that happens to you, just come up here is where you can select the English in the top right hand corner. And then finally, we have a calibration tab. I always recommend calibrating your keyboard the second you get them out of the box and after doing any type of firmware update. All right, guys, so that about wraps things up with my thoughts on the Huan63. And truly, without question, this is one of the best, most premium feeling keyboards that I've gotten my hands on. Like I've said, one of my favorite things about this keyboard is the fact that the second that I put it on my desk, the stability of all the keys, the sensitivity and performance on this is absolutely incredible. Some top tier performance out there. You can really get these switches fine-tuned and get them as sensitive as you can possibly need them to be without it feeling too overwhelming, too glitchy or anything like that. It just has worked really solid out of the box. The soft typing feeling that you do get on this does feel incredible, again, without being too soft where it gives you any instability or anything like that. So really, I feel like WLMOUSE has just put together something that is really magical here. Without question, one of my top keyboards out there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and do something a little bit different in this video, because there's been so many different keyboards coming out. I want to try and help you guys out with a decision here. When it does come to their carbon fiber keyboard, I still really like this thing a lot. One of the top ones out there. I'm just going to talk about some of my favorite other keyboards out there, and I'm going to make this really brief, but just to give you an idea of some of my top options out there. This one was awesome, has a fantastic look with the carbon fiber. This one does feel like it's a little bit more lightweight, but I will say that the one noticeable difference with the Ying over here is that you get a little bit more of a stiffer typing experience, and the keys on it, they sound, I'd say, a little bit louder and more clacky comparing it over here to the Huan63. I feel like you just get a bit of a little more quiet and softer typing experience on that one. So definitely one of the differences between both of these, though both of these do game really good. I would say that this one, I kind of prefer typing on it just a little bit more, though the stability on these keyboards isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I kind of do like keyboards that have a stiffer feeling, to be honest with you, for gaming, because I'm somebody who's very aggressive with my keyboards. I don't know why, but that's just the way I've always been. And the thing I want to say about both these keyboards, both of these, when I got these set up on my desktop, just the performance of them has been fantastic. I haven't noticed like too many glitches or errors or anything like that. Once I've got these set up, they've pretty much just have been working out perfect for me. The one thing, the difference of these is I will say that the EV63 does have a little bit more stability in the stem wobble. You do notice a little bit more over here on the Huan63, but this one does have a much softer typing experience, where again, this one is just so firm when you push into it. So really, just at the end of the day, it's just gonna come down to what you prefer. Again, I do kind of prefer a little bit of the stiffer feeling for gaming, but again, not that the softness of this has given me any sense of instability. Another one of my favorite options is going to be the Ponage Zen Blade over here. I mean, just the look of this is stunning. This is the same thing where this one also is mounted into the bottom of the tray itself. So you do get a little bit more of a stiffer feeling, whereas over here on the Huan, a little bit softer, but really both these keyboards are great. This one, obviously, not only does it look stunning, has a heavier weight, so it feels a little bit more solid on your desk. And this does have the full 65 layout, which I do prefer just a little bit more. Again, just try to make that really brief. I could sit here and talk about that. Hopefully that helped you guys out just a little bit. I know it gets kind of confusing with all the different types of incredible keyboards out there, but I can genuinely tell you this one is going to sit at the top of my list. Without question, one of my favorite keyboards out there. I will absolutely be putting this back on my desk. So not only is the look on this really great, but like I said, without question, in my opinion, one of the best feeling typing keyboards out there and sounding, and the performance on it really is spot on for gaming. So if you guys do have any additional questions or feel like I left anything out, please let me know in the comments down below. If you have enjoyed watching this video and are interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.